Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Joe Gould. I'm here with Adam Winters, the old man himself, and we are long suffering and spent a few hours watching the movie Supergirl from 1984.
Brought to you by some of the same people who made you believe a man could fly.
Yep, it is the fourth film in the Superman series of Christopher Reeves. It came out after Superman 3.
You put an S on the end of his name. You called him Reeves.
That's my default phrasing.
He's a singular Reeve, or he was.
But well, my favorite is George Reeves, so he just gets it by default. And
fair enough.
Christopher Reeve with no S is awkward.
And he was almost in this movie, but he pulled away.
Probably good for him. Maybe it would have got rid of 4, but it would have made the movie a little better, I think.
That man was typecast as Superman already. Might as well just be in every movie that references Superman.
Yeah, well, this is before the MCU. So originally, this movie was going to have a plot that was more along the lines of Superman is the mentor of Supergirl. And I think they could have done something with that. Once he was not going to be in the movie, they reworked a lot of the plot. And I think they may have been stoned when they did that.
Do you know how much influence the director had, the producers? Who was in charge of this creatively?
Well, I got notes that I haven't looked too hard at. This movie, just for the record, is longer than I thought it was going to be. I expected to sit down and have a little hour 25-minute feature.
Yeah.
Nope, this thing's over 2 hours. So it cut into my research time.
And there are multiple cuts of this movie, too. At least 3, right?
Yeah, and I probably did see the best version. I can't imagine some of the stuff that was cut would have made it any easier to follow. So I think they did add the good stuff in for the longer version, but that means they cut out probably the good stuff for the theatrical release, which is probably why no one understood what the hell this movie was about.
Oh, yeah.
So, excuse me. So this guy, Alexander Salkind, and his son Ilya, they gained the rights to the Superman movies in the 70s. And when they did that, they also purchased the rights to the character of Supergirl.
Oh.
In case they were successful and wanted to do a sequel or a spinoff.
What foresight.
Yeah. And originally, they had intended to have Supergirl as part of Superman 3.
I like that movie.
Which would set up, and that would have set up the standalone film. But they cut her character from that. They did announce this movie in April of 82, which is before they actually began production of Superman 3. But then that movie didn't go well, and they just decided maybe we can refresh the franchise, so to speak, of the Supergirl movie.
You summarized that from Wikipedia.
Never.
Hey, so speaking of the MCU...
They did try to get Richard Lester, but they got turned down on that one.
Richard Lester? For what role?
Direct.
Oh, that's the Superman 2 replacement director, right?
Well, he completed 2, and then he did 3 as well, yeah.
Okay, I forgot he continued.
The Donner replacement.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what kind of cinematic universe is this? It's not the DC cinematic universe, but it's attempting to do a Superman, specifically, cinematic universe. And does that include the Superboy TV show that was on during the late 80s?
I don't think so. I don't think Superboy would have been considered part of it. I don't know that they were thinking about it that way either, though. And in some ways, they've almost retconned this movie out of continuity, because if you get any of the box sets of all the Superman stuff, you ain't getting this movie.
Now, part of that, just to be clear, it's probably less of a commentary on the quality of this movie, because I think Superman 4 is worse, but it has something to do with the studio distribution right, this is a Sony TriStar distributed movie, right?
Yeah, Warner Brothers' hands are all over this movie, and they were involved with all the production. I think they basically said, you can do this, you can do that. But after Superman 3 flopped, they got cold feet on Supergirl, and they sold the distribution rights. So you're probably right.
Yeah.
But the movie's been released a few times. I think if they wanted to include it, they probably could do it on the cheap.
And you're right, because when they reissued the DVD for the second time, I believe it was a Warner Brother imprint DVD. I think Anchor Bay did the first one. And then somewhere out there's a director's cut DVD. I'm not sure by who, but I own that, and I popped it in just a little bit. It has less special features. I wish I had the stomach to sit through the commentary on the Warner Brother DVD. If the movie was shorter, I might have. But what version of the movie do you have, and did you experience?
I experienced HBO Max.
Ooh.
And I did order, was a 2-disc limited edition, as in limited to 50,000 copies. Doesn't seem real limited to me. Which features the 124-minute international version, which I believe is what I watched. and also the 138-minute director's cut. So I'm going to get both the 124-minute and the 138-minute. I think you bought the standalone, which is probably the 138-minute, I think. It's kind of confusing, especially since I don't have the disc in front of me.
So the DVD I bought that's not director's cut, and in my understanding, the director's cut had stuff added later digitally, but the standard DVD is supposedly the international cut. And because I've never seen this thing all the way through before this week, I can't tell you what the American theater cut would have looked like.
The American theater cut was 105 minutes.
Oh my goodness,
it was about 15 to 20 minutes less.
That's more like it. That's what you wanted right there.
Well, man. Well, maybe. So here's some of the deleted material, okay? And obviously people haven't watched it. We'll get into some of this. So a lot of material from the Argo City opening was cut, which it's hard for me to understand how what do you do with this movie if you cut out the introduction? Is as confusing as it is, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the scene that's called the quote-unquote flying ballet, which is where Supergirl arrives on Earth, and she's learning how she's able to do all these things like flying and super strength and heat ray.
Do you enjoy
that? I don't think they got a lot of that.
Do you enjoy that whole sequence? Do you think it was well done?
I thought it was fine. I wish I had that sequence and still had 15 minutes less of the movie. I think you do need to have, again, it's confusing as all get out watching this movie at the beginning, trying to figure out what the plot's supposed to be. But unless you just want to say Supergirl exists, here she is, I don't know how you don't have a scene like that. Because she didn't have powers on, Astro City, Argo City, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Another scene got trimmed is when Selena gets the Omega Hedron, or the power source, as I just called it.
Yeah.
I guess the whole car sequence was cut to pretty much nothing. The dialogue between the warlock and Selena was trimmed.
Nigel, that's the warlock, right? Who's also a teacher in a girls' private school in mathematics.
Yes.
What a weird. I'll admit right now.
Also, the death in the tractor scene was cut.
The tractor scene. Hold up.
The tractor's not necessarily the right word. The possessed machine. Maximum overdrive.
The Eason fella, the landscaping guy who likes to work without a shirt. That's what you're talking about.
Well, he didn't die, but where the machine's chasing him.
And it puts him in the little, the grabber part, or whatever we're talking about. The not forklift, goodness. The digger part of the...
it's a digger. We can call it a tractor just for simplicity, but yeah. So anyway, somebody dies in that scene, and it's cut in the American version.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, who died in that?
There was a car that drove into a store, and it ran somebody over. And it busted through the wall.
That's hardcore for this movie, what it was going for.
It was either a person or a mannequin. It was a clothing store, so.
Huh.
I questioned whether or not someone died, but then I saw that in the notes about what was deleted. And I said, okay, I guess they did die.
My favorite part of this movie is the screwball romantic comedy involving the witches, Coven, and the warlock, and their little secret society. But not to get you off subject if you're continuing.
So. This was a long movie. It was just so painful.
I had no idea when they introduced Selena, and we're not talking about Catwoman, not Selena Kyle. I had heard her name is The Lena with a Z. If you're doing a movie based on DC properties, why do you introduce somebody by the same name as another character? But they introduced Selena, big redheaded lady, and Nigel, a goofy British warlock guy, and they're just chilling in the park on a picnic, and they're talking through their terrible toxic relationship. And I just thought, these are your typical aristocratic people who probably will be the villains, but more in the mad scientist, rich person Lex Luthor way, or whoever the villain was in the third Superman movie. Turns out they're witches and warlocks. That came out of left field for me.
Oh yeah. Everything in this movie came out of left field, right field, center field, foul ball territory. It's hard to express the unique way that this movie was awful. It's it was just awful in so many different, diverse ways that it almost made it kind of good. Well, in a funny kind of way. It's trying to be a cult classic without realizing it.
So, before I realized how long the movie was, I was about 30 to 45 minutes into it, and I found myself thinking, I care nothing about Supergirl's plot, or whatever happened back on her home, I can't call it a planet, her home city, wherever that is, Argo, whatever Argo is. It's like it's a floating space rock. But I am entertained by the witches and all their. They don't seem to know what they're doing. Like they're just kind of dabbling in witchcraft comedically, and it made me think of what if the Golden Girls were really into Halloween?
No, it's like a haunted house of the Golden Girls,
and
mixed in. Get a little Batman
yeah,
1960.
It's an abandoned carnival, right? Like we would have seen this in
I think so.
the Punisher.
With a fridge.
It's the place where the Joker usually hangs out in any given Batman, whatever.
Joker in the animated series, it would be his hideout.
Yeah.
No, it's something else. So before we get into the actual movie, the runtime of the one I watched was 124 minutes. I think if you watch most versions today, that's probably going to be the one you get.
Yeah.
The budget was $35 million. It got 14.3.
Ooh. And that's after, Superman 3 was considered a disappointment, but I think it made back triple its budget. Probably lost a lot on promotion. But yeah, this one made 1/3 of its budget. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if that includes international, but I don't think it did much international. So
yeah,
I don't think it went too far.
This movie probably set female superhero comic book movies back. I don't know if it set it back because is this the first one to do a female lead as the superhero based on a comic book?
I would say it's probably safe to say it was at least the first theatrical one.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will say, in fairness to this film, Superman 3 may have done just as much damage to it as this movie did for future female superhero films. Like Superman 3, if it had been good and it made money, this one probably would have done a lot better. But when Superman 3 is a failure, then you get the Supergirl version. It's like, no one's really that interested.
Yeah. 84 was a year of competition. It just seemed like this movie was probably doomed from the start, is the way it comes across.
Well, I think they knew it, and that's why they let TriStar distribute it. Make a little money off that.
So let's talk about Pete O'Toole, Mr. Lawrence of Arabia himself. He was probably what they were hoping would be the Marlon Brando of this movie. But he doesn't... Whatever screen presence Brando has in the first Superman movie, Peter O'Toole has none of it.
No, he just wants to zip zap and go here, go there. He's got some awkward... The wardrobes in Whoville. Oh my goodness. The movie opens up and it kind of looks like a futuristic Christmas tree from Whoville without the color. And you got Kara Luhu L running around in her pajamas.
Even though she looks to be about 18 or 19 at least, but she acts like more like 6 maybe.
Oh yeah. And they all kind of act that way. And they all kind of... She looks older than the rest of them. It's like there's a slumber party and she's trying to sneak in. Like it's really for elementary school, but she's on their wavelength, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you get this random guy named Zoltar. And he's using a magic wand as a 3D printer.
Wait. He supposedly founded that whole city of Argo. I don't know how, but he's supposedly done it.
He printed it, I guess. I don't know.
He's 3D printed on his magic wand.
Yeah, he's making a tree, which doesn't really look like a tree. And apparently it's a lovely thing that grows on Earth, which is where Kara Luhu, that's where her cousin went. So you have the first insinuation that this is connected to the Christopher Reeve universe.
So DC Comics was right in the midst of Crisis on Infinite Earths around the time these movies would have come out. And they were trying to streamline their continuity through all their decades of craziness. And one of the big things they wanted to do is they really wanted to make Kal-El, Clark Kent, whatever name you want to call him, the last son of Krypton. So you can't really have all these other Kryptonians, but again, they are established IPs and they probably sell decently. So you still got to find a way to work Supergirl, maybe a Superboy in. You got to get creative. You got to invent Kryptonian cousins. That they're not from Krypton, they're from Argo or wherever. That seems to be what informs this movie. It probably didn't have a whole lot of backstory to work from, given the timing, how they were rebooting the comics.
Yeah, and so my understanding, which I am not a Supergirl expert, just to be clear, is that Argo City was basically a slither of Krypton that floated and happened to survive. And that's where she kind of came from.
So that's why it's a little floating island in space, a floating city.
Yeah. And they don't necessarily explore that here, but it would work with what we're looking at, I think.
I will say, if it survived the destruction of Krypton, they're still Kryptonians, and I forget the workarounds for that. But They seem to know all about the adventures of Superman in the first 2 or 3 movies that chronicled. Very convenient.
Yeah, and that is a little bit of a plot point since how would they know who he was? But whatever. And Zoltar, I forgot his name for a second. He puts it. He wants to zip zap and go to Earth also.
Because he's
And we
bored.
get a science lesson. Yeah, I know. We get a science lesson that apparently Earth and Saturn are in outer space, but they are in inner space.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because I could not figure out the ending of this movie, but inner space.
I don't think that part makes sense either. But yeah, they're in inner space. And then he pulls out a magic yo-yo, which is the power source. And he's borrowed it for the afternoon, aka stole. And he charges his tree with it.
He founded the city, which would make me think he should have some right to it, but then again, maybe they tried to set up a democracy after he got him started.
But then he hands the 3D printer to Kara, and she goes over and draws a dragonfly with it. And then that dragonfly crashes through a wall, and then there's a hole in the outer space, of course. It basically looks like saran wrap. And then the power source gets sucked out of the hole. Kara almost gets sucked out, and that's where kind of the movie starts, is they've lost the power source to the city.
And he's in trouble.
And they're doomed.
It's his fault.
Yeah. Only I think Kara, I think she's supposed to be feeling guilty, but she's so emotionless and devoid of any personality, you can't tell. And she goes and steals his little zip-zap machine and flies to Earth.
I thought she just wanted a vacation, first of all, and then maybe she'll find the Omni head corn or Omega head cannon. We need the yo-yo. We'll call it the yo-yo.
We can call it the magic yo-yo. In my notes, I just wrote down power source.
Magic yo-yo. Yeah, sure.
I can already tell what we're going to review this movie off of. Magic yo-yos.
Yeah.
But when you're watching this, it's like, okay, did Kara just go to solve the problem? Did she go to save herself and screw the rest of you?
Yeah.
It's like
just like Kal-El. He was a baby, so.
So she takes it. She doesn't want to die at home. And she has sentenced them to death with her dragonfly that came to life. And Zoltar says he should go to the Phantom Zone and suffer forever while all the people who live on the rock die a quick death.
Continuity reference. Very big plot point in Superman 1 and 2.
Yes. Yeah. So, and to me, Zoltar, Kara Luhu, all these characters so far just seem like very immature, impulsive children.
Argonauts. That's what they are.
And that's when it switches over to Earth, and you get what we thought are 2 rich people conversing about ruling the world with magic beams. But apparently they're all just into black magic, and they're really not rich.
Yeah, that other guy's on a teacher's salary at a private school, so he probably makes even less than a public school teacher. Yeah,
and their blanket is like lion skin with the head attached. So they're having a picnic on a lion skin blanket. But yeah, the power source flies overhead. It lands in their jello or something. I can't quite recall. And then I guess she knows it's special. She picks it up, goes to the car, starts the car with it, and drives off.
Convenient. She could rip off any automobile in the world, and she picks Nigel's car. Poor Nigel. Do you feel bad for Nigel in this movie?
He's never really portrayed as a true villain.
He's
fair. Just like hanging out with the witch, trying to help her in her endeavors of taking over the world. He's basically Pinky.
He never does anything bad to his students, so far as I know.
No.
He's there to teach them, and he wants to make sure they haven't cheated or gone through his private files, but, well...
I think he wants to be the witch's mentor with benefits. That seems to be...
Oh, man. Okay.
Like, that's his form of payment.
All right.
I don't know. But anyways, she knows immediately that little magic yo-yo is going to be answered all her problems, and she no longer needs the warlock. So she drives off and ditches him.
That Celine ain't worth it, man. Just telling y'all right now.
So Kara is still in outer space. She's flying. Somehow she's now in a full costume, though.
Wait, is she in outer space or is she in the water when she's traveling to Earth? I thought she came in from the sky when she landed.
She did. She came in the sky and then landed in the lake.
Okay. And she goes under the water in her spaceship, right? And then she comes out in full super skirt.
Yes, and dry.
Well, that's fair. That's Kryptonian power. You don't get wet. I don't know, probably.
Yeah, and then she crushes a rock. She picks a small flower and makes it bloom with her heat ray vision. I don't know how that works.
That's understandable. Just adding heat to an unbloomed bub.
She teaches herself how to fly, or at least hover skip at this point.
Now, I will say, I don't recall a whole lot of shots in the Reeve movies, even the better ones, of long shots of Christopher Reeve doing works, because they tried hard to not make it look like he was on wire work, but a lot of them are close and cinematic. This is a little bit different. She's trying to do acrobatic works, and you know she's on wires, but it doesn't look awful. And a few shots even look pretty good. I think they have that shot where they're kind of filming her behind some blades of grass and the sun is maybe setting. It's a nice little shot.
No, I think the flying scenes are the best special effects, well, for the most part. And they mostly look good, especially for 1984. I think that's why they linger on these shots, is because they actually look decent. Drag out that runtime a little bit.
Yeah.
But she has a lengthy flying scene where it's not quite Snow White music, but it kind of reminds you of that playing in the background. And then I think at this point, Nigel, or the warlock, sees her, I believe.
Oh, he does. He's been stranded, and at that point in the movie, I didn't know he was going to be important. And I was sort of right. He's not that important. But I just thought he was random rich dude who saw the lady flying. I didn't quite understand all the witchcraft talk until I saw Celine's hideout. Selena.
Yeah. And then so that scene kind of ends with Supergirl making a dramatic pose in front of the lake. And then it goes back to the witch, and she's now arrived at her evil lair, which has a for sale sign and a skull-shaped front door.
And she's in the kitchen. Right?
And at this point, we haven't seen the rest of the theme park. So
man.
There's really no reason to think this is actually a theme park. This is Scooby-Dooville right here.
Yeah. No, she's living the high life as a low life.
And we are 20 minutes into this movie at this point.
Is this when her roommate rolls in?
Only 20 minutes.
Bianca?
Yeah, she goes in, she yells for... I wrote it down as Yumfeld, but I'm not sure what her real name was.
Bianca, right? That's it.
Bianca? Okay. So she's yelling for her. She comes up. They complain about being broke.
Wait,
the primary witch says the guy's history and all our bills are history, and the world is her oyster.
Did Bianca not come rolling in a choo-choo train like you see in the malls?
That was a different scene.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Yeah, that was later.
How do you not use that as the establishing shot?
I think you got to keep one up on yourselves, I guess.
And
again, when the choo-choo train happens, you still don't know it's a theme park.
All I could think is, yeah, that'd be great. Oh, choo-choo train.
Like I said, this movie is unintentionally, awkwardly bad.
Hey.
In all the weird ways.
More enjoyable than Superman 4.
It's like you're bored for 2 hours, but every once in a while you get this little funny thing that happens. Yeah. And you're not quite sure if it was intentionally funny.
Oh, man.
So then Supergirl's flying around in the city at night.
Yeah.
Her bracelet, which has not been introduced, starts beeping.
What city did she go to? We don't know.
Midland or something? I wrote it down somewhere in my notes, but I'm not there yet.
It's probably in Illinois.
It is
There's
in
a map
Illinois. It was
at some point in this movie, but
Midvale.
Okay.
Midvale. I don't know if that's a real place or not. Probably not, because it's DC.
Yeah.
But her bracelet's beeping, and it's like, is she diabetic or something? Like, what's going on here?
Did she get that back on Argo? Did Zoltar give her that?
I don't think so.
I was wondering about the bracelet.
Yeah, you're going to make a movie 2 hours and 5 minutes. You might introduce your homing device.
Oh.
And we're just assuming it's tied to the yo-yo, but they don't explicitly say it.
No.
And she lands in a street, not the best part of town. Not sure there is a good part of this town.
Oh, man. I forgot about that scene. The truckers who just happened to be coming by. The white trash truckers in very curiously branded clean t-shirts.
Yes. If I'm A&W, they have some sponsorship going on in this movie, yes. You can tell. I don't know why they want to be attached to a guy intending to rape someone.
And very prominently displayed, where the other guy has an STP shirt, because we see a lot of STP in the movie, but he at least had a jacket over most of it. Like Richard Petty didn't want to be associated with that kind of crowd. But yeah, the A&W shirt is bright and white the whole time.
Yes, they've done their laundry recently. But these two guys get out. They tell her that she's at Lover's Lane, and they get handsy with her. And they make a Superman connection, again, to the Christopher Reeve movies. I don't know why they thought it would be a good idea to get handsy with her.
They just think she's a Halloween or something. Yeah, Halloween costume.
Maybe, but she literally blows one away.
Then the other guy pulls out the knife, doesn't he, when that happens? The guy in the STP shirt?
Yeah, she heat rays it, and then pushes him through a wall or something. I wrote down lame effects, but nice A&W shirt.
I kind of want one of those A&W shirts. You go on eBay. Isn't it weird there's also a Popeyes in this movie?
I think I missed that.
That's the diner where they all go to when Jimmy Olson shows up eventually.
Oh, I think my eyes were glazed over. I was just trying to stay awake.
Too much A&W. Okay, I get it.
So then the witches are throwing a party.
What a wonderful party.
She calls them, these are her foot soldiers, her army of the night. We never see these people again.
I wish there were werewolves in the Superman universe. Wouldn't that be great? It is legitimate,
warlocks
though, that you have Superman magic being established as one thing that can affect him negatively. So it's nice to at least know there are magicians and warlocks and witches in Superman's world.
Yeah, they don't do real mean things for the most part.
That's all right.
They're not very good at it.
Yeah.
They need their magic yo-yo to pull off the good stuff. So, the warlock shows up and he tells the witch, the primary witch, that he saw Supergirl. She doesn't seem nervous. She says she has a power now. We haven't seen that power. And then he shows her like a little makeup mirror or something. And it's of her overreaching ambition. She's not happy with that.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense either.
Yeah.
And this is where I really wanted to stop taking notes. And then I had to take notes again because it was ridiculous. The witch killed someone and they spun on their head. It was...
Wait. Hold on now. Are you talking about that blonde lady with the big red glasses who tries to hit on Nigel? Or vice versa?
Probably.
She
It's
doesn't
been
die.
a while.
She does not die.
Well, you know what I mean, though.
She makes her suffer, and Nigel isn't happy about that.
Okay. Fair enough. Only one person died in this movie, and it wasn't seen in America.
It's a shame those truckers didn't die. Well, it's a shame a couple of those co-ed girls didn't die. They were the real villains. The real twisted sisters in this film.
So I'm assuming there were some rabbits in a field, because I wrote down, Supergirl wakes up after sleeping with Bugs Bunny.
Hey, you can probably write that fan comic in a few more years.
Probably can.
Certain things are public domain.
She wakes up in a field of flowers and rabbits, apparently, and then she sees some kind of softball game. I think it's softball going on.
Is it not rugby?
And she transforms into a player.
Lacrosse. I thought it was lacrosse. Maybe it is.
I think that was later.
Field hockey. Okay, fine. Yeah, fair.
Once she had infiltrated the school, she did the whatever that sport was. I think this was straight up softball. But she transforms into a player/student, and she sneaks into the school, and she writes a fake letter under the Kent name.
That was well done, actually, the way that scene was handled. She changes her hair color. That's a big thing. Goes a little bit more brunette, and she gets it cut short, and she decides she needs a secret identity. Perhaps to protect what, exactly?
I don't know. She's got 4 days. Now she's got 3 days. So I'm not sure what going undercover in an all-girls school is doing for her.
I just thought she wanted to fit in initially. She saw the girls play and she wanted to be like them. A little bit of a King Louis moment for her.
Well, and I will say, at the time, we didn't know if she was actually trying to save her city or not. So.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. Yeah, again, we just thought she
Hadn't
was
been
out living
established.
life.
Yeah, and she ends up sharing a room with Lucy Lane,
How convenient.
who's reading a Hulk comic.
Is that what it was? I didn't see the cover.
It was.
No.
It was the inside. It was a Hulk comic.
No. What issue?
It was the inside. I have no idea.
I figured you could identify an interior Hulk comic from the 80s, but...
It was also very standard definition.
All right.
And I can't remember what Lucy is to Lois.
Sister. Younger sister.
Sister, okay. Gotcha. And she bears somewhat of a resemblance to her.
It's not bad. Did you read on Wikipedia that Demi Moore had agreed at one point to be Lucy Lane in this movie, but had a scheduling commitment?
We almost had Demi Moore, and we also had Dolly Parton as the witch.
Man, can you imagine?
I don't know if she seriously considered it or not, but they did offer it to Dolly Parton. That would have been great.
Man, we got to go to AI to give us a version of this movie with Dolly Parton in it.
Oh, yeah. Somebody work on that. Send it in. And then we get another connection to the Reeve movies with a Superman poster with him on it.
Yeah, his one appearance in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a line of dialogue on the radio. I'm not sure when it comes up. Apparently, he's on an intergalactic peacekeeping mission in deep space, which I assume confirms that space aliens other than Superman exist, and the Kryptonians, and also breaks, for the first time, that promise he made at the end of Superman 2. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I missed that line in the movie. I read about it, that it happened.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I've been away for a while, however it goes. It won't happen again. Now, you didn't get Superman Returns, where he was on a deep space mission to investigate the leftovers of Krypton and became a deadbeat dad. So I sort of jumped all over Superman Returns for violating the thematic important ending of Superman 2. But I guess it happened in Supergirl. So how can I get too hard on Superman Returns?
What do you know? Now you can watch that movie and enjoy it.
Oh no, I'd rather be watching this movie than Superman Returns. I tell you that much. Woo! I don't have to think about Kevin Spacey and Brian. What's his name?
Bryan Singer.
Yeah, I don't have to think about those guys.
All right, so then it kind of bounced around a little bit. We now discover that the warlock teaches class at the school, and we see the witch playing with tarot cards, and we kind of think she wants everyone to love her with magic. And then the magic yo-yo starts flashing a little bit, highlights that there's this hunk doing some yard work.
Ethan's Mother Earth's Landscaping Company, 23.5-hour service. He does weed.
Yeah.
Apparently, he pulls weed. And as it said, where the grass is always greener. So I don't know if that's quite a pot joke, but it could go either way there. You know, he's introduced as a guy who's very mellow, as in he doesn't have a whole lot going on upstairs. And I think even though he's under the influence of magic for most of the movie, I think the movie wants us to lean into the idea he's a nice guy who doesn't have a whole lot going on upstairs.
No, he likes doing his coloring. He does some coloring later on while the witches are coming up with plans.
Good man. Yeah.
With crayons, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, Selena is interested in him. Well, Bianca sees him first. Remember that? She's driving Selena around, and she's like, oh, hunk alert. And it's like, you know, he's got his shirt off or whatever, cutting the tree limbs. And then for whatever reason, Selena decides she's really into him. Bianca's like, I saw him first. And you saw there's potential dramatic tension here between the witches that might pay off later. No.
Nope.
No.
Nope. And at the same time, the bracelet's flashing again, and Kara answers an equation on the wall that she shouldn't know the answer to. Apparently, it's 6-dimensional geometry, which she did not understand back home.
But it's fine on Earth because, yeah.
All her powers are unlocked. She's got the sun.
Yeah, it worked for Superman, didn't it? He had all that brain power expanded. Just goes to show kids, when you're in good shape, your brain works a little better. Exercise. Drink your Ovaltine. I'm out of quips on that.
Back to boredom.
Yeah.
All right, so then it goes to a girls' sports game, which I could not identify the sport.
Apparently it almost got really violent at one point.
Yeah, they're bullying Lane.
Why?
There's some, I don't know.
And it's not like the whole school's bullying Lucy. It's two particular girls who, in my opinion, the way they're portrayed in this movie, they look like the kind of person who's usually bullied in a movie like this, not the ones who are trying to do the bullying.
Agreed. So they try to bully. Kara saves her. A ball crushes on her back. They don't really go anywhere with that, as to asking questions as to how that would not hurt her. And then she uses her super hearing to hear through a wall and puts her heat vision through a wall, but not destroying the wall, to thwart a attempt by the two bullies to turn really hot water on in the shower. They don't get sprayed on them instead.
That is borderline murderous, or at least, you know, that's a real problem. They specifically said the head bully, they don't want to just turn the cold water on to give everybody to trick them. They want scalding hot water to give them severe burning. And that is hardcore stuff. And then when they get burned, the two girls, they run through the locker room where the other girls are, and everybody laughs at them. And that's the last we ever see of them, isn't it?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah. We're mostly done with the school at that point, other than Kara showing back up once.
Yeah.
So everybody goes home for the weekend. Sounds like it's a 3-day weekend. And then Kara doesn't go anywhere, though. And she looks at a map, and she circles Midvale, and she flies there. I made the note that she has no personality when she has the super suit.
I guess so. What's her personality when she doesn't have the super suit?
She's amused and wants to fit in. She wants to be human.
Okay.
Human again. Whatever the Beauty and the Beast song is.
Beauty and the Beast? What? Hold on a second.
But they have the Human Again song.
Oh, okay. I need to watch that at some point.
Probably a better analogy, though, would be the Little Mermaid. When she gets
I want to be where the people are. All right, so Lucy Lane, she's buddies with Jimmy Olson, and maybe she wants to be something a little bit more than buddies. So they're gonna meet up at the Popeyes in some small town somewhere.
What do you think the age gap is between them?
Oh boy, I don't want to know. This is 84. That is 1 year before the Jimmy Olsen actor did the Back to the Future movie. He was one of the brothers in that, and he was sort of the older brother. So he was still playing somebody not long out of high school. So in that sense, I think he's at least passable for someone in his younger 20s. And maybe Lucy Lane is almost adulthood, or
I can't say Lucy Lane with a straight face.
Lucy.
What year did Superman 1 come out?
That's 77.
So, yeah, it seems sketchy to me. But they did get the actor. So
the one link between all the other movies. And why is Jimmy Olsen really in this movie? Just to say Jimmy Olsen is in this movie. Look, he was in the Superman movies.
They couldn't get Christopher Reeve, so they went with Jimmy Olsen.
You don't think they could have offered Margot Kidder a little money to just, I don't know, show up too?
I don't know. So we're back at the witch's lair. The witch puts a spider inside of a nut and deep fries it. Makes a love potion out of it. Then that's when the other witch drives up on the train trolley. I'm trying to speed through this, but when they do things like this, I really can't slow down. Then the hunk shows up. They call for his services. He rings the doorbell.
His shirt's on, by the way. He's not trying to make a kind of creepy plumber call. He's trying to do work.
Yeah. So we find out that he likes alkaline soil. She likes shade plants.
Oh, man.
She gives him the potion via malt liquor. He passes out very quickly, and when he wakes up, the first person he sees and makes true eye contact with, he will fall in love with. And then Nigel shows up and gets treated like a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, that's a funny line. It's right up there with Coming to America and their Jehovah's Witness jokes knocking at the door.
Yeah. And while they're dealing with him, as you were just mentioning, the dude wakes up and he kind of stumbles through the rest of the haunted house.
That could have been a really fun scene. It wasn't.
Could have been.
Yeah.
It sounds more interesting than it was. And then the witch gives Nigel a skin problem, realizes the hunk is gone. The magic box that contains the yo-yo seems to be stuck. It's really just heavy. Apparently it's growing.
Yeah, she has a little dragon box, right? It's a little metal dragon that the bigger it gets, it apparently has boobs. Did I notice that right?
Yeah, I think it's a porn dragon.
One of those Halloween decorations you don't want to be associated with. You go into somebody's house, it's one of those.
Yeah. It's like one of those little toys, you put it in water and it grows.
Oh, not Chia Pet, is it? That's something different?
Chia Pet grows hair.
Oh, sorry.
It's just grass. I meant the little piece of foam that you put in there and it would grow.
It started with
the
little, the sea monkeys or whatever, they would grow. You'd mail order those. Yeah.
Gone off the rails here. Okay, Woo! So Supergirl flies through a pipe and turns into Schoolgirl again. Lucy sees Linda. Jimmy's there for lunch.
Popeyes.
Yeah, and they're going to have a party that night. And then the witch goes into maximum overdrive mode to get her hunk back, using a magic mirror to watch as a bulldozer tries to eat him.
Is that the best scene of the movie? The little town where the...
It is. It's either that one or when she fights the Invisible Man.
Oh, I forgot about the Invisible Man.
Yeah. I think they're both kind of equal. So you have take a scene from Maximum Overdrive, remove all of the gravitas that might be there, anything interesting, anything deadly, turn it into an Andy Griffith episode, and it's kind of what you get.
I know I've seen that little town set before. I just can't place it. It reminds me a little bit of the little town in the Man of Steel movie. Henry Cavill and all that. I don't know.
Maybe it was the inspiration. So this bulldozer's driving around without a driver. Lucy Lane tries to help, knocks herself out in the driver's seat.
Somehow, it's an abrupt turn. She had no seatbelt. She banged her head on the glass.
Yes. Not sure there's anything in there to damage.
Well,
but
the Lanes have terrible luck with stuff like that. Always willing to help. Terrible luck was getting knocked unconscious. Concussions running that family.
So Supergirl runs to the rescue. In the meantime, we have a massive tire fire and some electrical lines that look dangerous. She flies in, gives everybody hay fever, I believe. Hay is flying everywhere. And the witch is watching it through the mirror, which we assume is powered by the magic yo-yo. And then Supergirl rescues the guy by ripping off the mouth of the bulldozer, so to speak. leaves Lane there. Just ditches her.
Yeah, don't worry about that. She's fine.
And then he wakes up, he sees her, and he loves her forever. Now she's back into schoolgirl mode, I should say. Never explained how she just changes. She didn't have to run to the bathroom to change.
No phone booth.
No, and hair color change. I don't even understand.
And hair links change, too. You get a different haircut.
And then he recites poetry. He kisses her. Little Lois sees. Olson shows up. The witch wants to take them all out at this point. She's very upset. She's lost her man. And then she does a spell on one of the girls. They don't actually specify which one. And we later find out it is Kara / the schoolgirl version of her. And she sends the Shadow Master out to get her, which is the Invisible Man monster.
So I was uncertain, even after having watched the movie. Did the witches not know Supergirl changed in to schoolgirl?
Apparently not. Well, they didn't know. That's for sure.
They had the magic mirror, and they still didn't know.
I don't know. Maybe the mirror took a view of something else for a second. I don't know.
They had a nickname for schoolgirl, Linda Lee. They called her the Wimp, right? For some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they called that version the Wimp. And every time Supergirl showed up, they were surprised. Oh.
Yeah. We are 1 hour and 6 minutes into this movie at this point. There are still 57 minutes to go.
You're not sure what the plot is either.
No. And at this point, I wasn't even sure if they were going to chase Supergirl or Lois, or Little Lois. I thought maybe the movie might be Supergirl having to go rescue Little Lois.
Yeah, but she's got a boy toy. And it's not clear how into Eason Supergirl is.
She's amused like a 6-year-old would be. It's like...
But when he's asleep, she kind of sneaks a cuddle on him at various points, too.
Oh, yeah, they're like 2 6-year-olds.
Okay.
He plucked a flower, made a ring out of it.
Do you know how uncomfortable people were with Wonder Woman 1984, with the implications of how that romance was handled? I'm just saying, this is not too far away from it here.
Yeah, at least she doesn't know that there's a magic spell.
That's fair.
And they kind of clean that up a little bit later. When the spell's no longer in play, but he still realizes he loves her.
Yeah.
So it's hard to describe the next scene. We're just going to speed through it probably. But it actually was pretty cool. Probably because they didn't have to make bad CGI. They could just blow things up.
I love blowing stuff up.
So she goes back to the school, Kara does, and she's thinking about the kiss, you can tell. Then the Invisible Man's on a rampage towards the school. And then they get to the school. She pretends kissing herself on a mirror right when the monster gets there. She kindly asks it to leave. They quote-unquote fight. And then she takes a street lamp up into the sky, gets it charged by electricity, comes back down, and electrocutes the invisible monster.
Did they not have the budget for anything else?
Well, based off the final scene, I'd say no.
Okay.
So the witches are getting mad. The box is getting bigger and uglier. Supergirl's looking at her bracelet. The little space ball goes nuts. The magic yo-yo.
Yeah.
And she goes to the hideout. Like she figures out to follow the yellow brick road with the bracelet.
Hold on now. At what point does the giant mountain and castle appear on the horizon of the small town?
Oh, that's later.
That didn't happen.
We're only
yet?
an hour into the movie right now.
That didn't happen.
That was while she was, well, I don't want to spoil it, but she gets sent away, and that's when that happens.
Okay, well, continue with the hideout encounter.
Yeah, so this is where we kind of figure out that it's actually an amusement park. And she's going to the hideout. She's going along the ground, and she realizes she's being followed by someone. It's the hunk. He's got chocolate and roses. The mirror sees her as well, so the witches now know. But he's just really laying on strong. Lovely Linda Lee, those roses pale beside thee.
Oh, King James English.
She agrees to sit with him and not pursue the witches. He plays dead. He proposes. They almost kiss. The witches arrive. She turns on the ghost train, which is what they're sitting on, missing some letters in the sign. They go very high speed of spinning around. This is like those little cups that kids sit in and spin. It's just real fast.
Wait. They're all NFL licensed bumper cars, though.
Not yet.
No? Dang it. Man.
Oh, this is a train. This is a little train thingy.
Oh.
It's just spinning around and around and around. She goes getting them dizzy. And then when she stops the ride, the guy's there in the cup, passed out. And then Supergirl shows up behind them. And then they talk to each other. Meanwhile, the hunk gets sent on his little NFL bumper car ride.
Aren't those amazing?
They look dangerous.
They have 2 different teams on each side, so theoretically you could drive the car either direction as forward.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. I had never seen such things.
I
don't know if they made them just for the movie or if they actually existed.
He ends up in a New England Patriots, Los Angeles Rams car, sort of dual players on each side.
Yeah, not the 2 teams I would think they'd put together, but
That's fair. They've met in the Super Bowl a few times, so that has happened, but that came later.
Yeah. So the ladies talk to each other. He's trying not to get hit by these cars. Eventually gets in the one you were just talking about. The witch tries to keep Supergirl from doing anything by kind of making herself a human centipede type blockade. That doesn't stop her though. And Supergirl throws a bunch of things around her to put her in like a fake box.
I've forgotten that.
Yeah, that's the extent of that fight. Then she takes the bumper car and kind of flies off with it.
Yeah.
That's where you can tell she's starting to like him. Give him a cuddle in the car while they're flying.
Yeah.
I don't know why she takes him to a lake, but she takes him to a lake.
She always goes towards water.
Yeah, he wakes up and immediately is knocked out by a coconut flying through the sky.
And I guess Selena sent the coconut somehow.
Yeah, I don't know.
At this point, I'm not sure if I'm intended to take Ethan seriously as a real character. When he was introduced, he had that kind of energy of the first victim guy in a horror movie. You know, he's going to get turned into a toad or something. Don't worry about it. But now he's been in the movie a lot, and I'm thinking, oh, there's going to be character development between the two of them and their relationship, but they keep knocking him out because they got to move the plot along.
But they're not moving the plot along, unfortunately.
That's true.
All right. So then they decide, the witches, that they need to call Nigel and get his expertise. He shows up. He lets the spider out of the nut, so the spell's broken. But then he decides that he still loves her. He wakes back up, by the way. So they don't answer why on that. So Nigel uses an evil wand with the power source. Supergirl kisses the guy to prove that his love, Linda Lee, is safe. Because he's wanting to come with her. And she's like, no, she's safe. And he doesn't believe her. And eventually she kisses him to prove to him that she is okay because she's her.
Well, it's like that whole Spider-Man Mary Jane thing. This movie done it first.
Yeah. And then that's where the spell that Nigel's doing takes effect. And he is immediately, Ethan is, warped off to the witch's bed in chains.
Oh, that got kinky really fast. I'm glad it didn't get weirder than that. Man.
Yeah, they really didn't need to do that part based off the next scene. But yeah.
Oh, man.
And then Supergirl takes off real quick. She's doing some fast flying now.
Where's she going this time? I forgot.
Well, she's going to go back to the amusement park. Or where the amusement park was, at least.
Oh.
They bounce around a lot. So at this point, the witch kisses Nigel and steals his wand. And that's where the giant mountain appears and the evil castle on top. So she's tricked Nigel. She's gotten his wand. Supergirl flies to the top. Ethan's in chains. Immediately, there's this force field type thing around Supergirl, which I did not immediately identify.
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah. The witch appears, and Ethan does appear to love her. And she sends Supergirl, I don't know how she knows about it, to the Phantom Zone.
And I thought in the first two movies, you needed to have a projector. That was sort of the established way people go to the Phantom Zone in Superman lore. Projector. But
yeah, here they just use the mirror, I suppose.
And I wasn't sure what happened, but when they had the shot of Supergirl in the little mirror floating through space, I said, oh, that's just what they did with General Zod and everybody. So I guess she is in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah. Did the Phantom Zone in this movie resemble the one in the first movies?
I can't recall. I don't recall them showing much of what it looked like other than when they show the Kryptonians, they sort of look like they're always encased in a glass prison. They're standing back to back. So this is probably the most we ever get to see of the actual Phantom Zone in this Superman Saul-kind universe.
Yeah, and it basically consists of green sludge.
Kind of creepy, I like it. And a whole lot of rock places.
Yeah, it's like if the moon took a Nickelodeon slime bath. That's kind of what she got.
I like it.
Yeah. So she's got no powers there. Walks around, then she falls into a pit and passes out.
But fortunately, she didn't meet a Kryptonian criminal. She met the one guy who could help her.
Uncle Zoltar.
Yeah, man. And he's in full Willy Wonka mode, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's squirting stuff in his mouth. He's real sad. He's a sad man. So before we get into that, they go back to Earth. The witch is ruling with an iron fist. She rules with her Prince Ethan. The students are protesting. They have a G dorm says no to Zelena sign. Little Lane has that.
Oh.
And little Lois and Olson get arrested. So later on, maybe I could skip something later. Lane, Olson, and the warlock are put in metal balls and they hang over the floor in the castle.
Remind me of those metal balls from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. They were rolling around.
Yes. And I thought to myself, they're not very high up.
Fair.
Like, the threat is that they're going to be dropped. It's like, I don't think that's going to do much. And then, once they were dropped later, they didn't really do much.
There was one point where they had spikes come out of the floor. Remember that?
They quickly took care of that, though.
Yeah.
Or Supergirl did. So back to the Phantom Zone. Eventually, she's able to talk her uncle Zoltar into trying to find a way back home. Eventually, finds out there is a way back home, and they go through this cave and they crawl around and not be touched by a big funnel cloud. And the mirror is showing the witch all this, by the way. So she still sees what's going on in the Phantom Zone.
Man.
We still have 20 minutes left, by the way.
Yeah. She can see everything except Supergirl's secret identity changeover.
Yeah. And then to make it more difficult on them, she shoots fireballs. That doesn't work. And then she sends a demon storm.
I like this demon storm.
It's fine. Uncle Zoltar eventually doesn't make it. Supergirl gets out, and she busts through the mirror back into the castle. And that's where we got, she's there with the witches and the prisoners hanging in the balls.
At what point does the giant dragon show up? Did we miss that?
Oh, that's coming up soon.
Okay, good.
And that's when, as a threat, the witch gets plastic spikes underneath the balls, which Supergirl gets rid of, and then all the people crash 5 feet down and are loosened from their balls.
Their balls dropped. There you go.
Yes, there you go. And Supergirl wants the power source, which is going to let her quote unquote have it. And that's when you have the smog dragon type thing appear.
And you know what? That could have looked really cool, but they made some decisions on how they filmed this sequence.
Yeah, you want to talk about those decisions?
Well, the dragon seems to grab Supergirl, but it's almost like the kind of grab where they didn't want to put Helen Slater or any of their stunt people in the hand of an actual whatever. And so they decide that instead of having various shots of Supergirl in the hand of the dragon monster, they will play around with her contortions like the Mario head on Mario 64. They'll stretch and squash and change the perspective angle like you're playing around in a Photoshop program. And what is she experiencing? I don't know. Disorientation? Doesn't look comfortable, but it seems less pain, more dizziness. Yeah.
No, I felt like they were trying to go for the idea that it was almost squishing her and stretching her.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really there. So, I don't know.
That was sort of their... It seemed like they spent a lot of money on that dragon, and they didn't get to use the dragon much.
Yeah. And I actually did see compliments for that scene in terms of the effects. I'm just thinking, I don't know if I'm watching the same movie here.
No, it's one of those epic disappointments because it's the scene that should be the coolest in the movie, and it very much isn't because of decisions that were made.
Yeah, the smog monster, it's just one-upped by the Invisible Man. What can you say? That's never a good thing.
Oh, man.
So she's eventually inspired by the words of her dead uncle to keep trying, and she gets loose, and then she is told by the warlock, you're going to have to get the witch up there to look at it. She's like, okay. So she makes a tornado effect, lifts the witch up to the monster. The other witch gets sucked into it up to the monster too. And then I guess the witches get sent to the Phantom Zone via the mirror. I don't know.
And it's an odd decision again on the way it's filmed, because when Supergirl has finished her tornado attack, the shot shows only her reflection in the mirror. I was thinking Supergirl's in the mirror, but no, that's just her reflection, but it's not made clear in that establishing shot.
I agree. I had the same thought. Why is she in the mirror?
That is not the dramatic shot you wanted, whatever Jan director name of this thing was.
No. And then Ethan hands the magic yo-yo back to Supergirl, and they wrap up the movie. She goes home. Kinda.
See, she goes underwater, and I'm thinking, why is she going underwater? I was like, isn't she going to take that thing back through outer space to Argo?
Well, how does she get back to inner space?
I guess she goes through the water because the last shot is the same shot of Argo floating island in space like we saw in the beginning of the movie, and I didn't realize that until I popped it back in just to view the beginning and ending.
No, it was all weird because I thought she was going to go get into her spaceship and then fly back to inner space, however that looks like.
But she doesn't need the spaceship or outer space because she's going to inner space underwater.
Ugh.
So I was thinking the reason that Zoltar or whoever got sent to the Phantom Zone was because he really did doom Argo and it had been destroyed. And Linda Lee, schoolgirl Supergirl, says at one point she's an orphan, which suggests she had resigned to her fate that everybody died. But now it's okay, so are they going to try to bring Zoltar back from Phantom Zone again, or is he dead in Phantom Zone? Or can you die?
I think he got sent to whatever the Phantom Zone of the Phantom Zone is. I'm not quite sure on that.
Ooh, the inner space Phantom Zone.
Maybe it's the middle space. I don't know.
So the credits roll, and I will say, I don't ever recall the credits cutting to black fully. Am I wrong on that?
No, they don't. They do the slow crawl.
I kind of like that 3D letters. Reminds me of Nintendo Virtual Boy without the red.
So one other little plot thing that's awkward is it's very clear earlier that Ethan figured out her identity. And then Ethan has to remind Supergirl before she leaves that he knows.
And he'll cover for her about,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh man, you know what? If Linda Lee's an official student at that girls' school, she's going to be considered a missing person, and he's going to be a person of interest.
He took care of it.
Oh.
Think in the fall. Yeah. So basically, the movie starts with her having to go through space to get to Earth. Lands in a lake in her spaceship, and the movie ends with her going into the lake and going immediately to the city in the lake, which was not the spaceship. Ugh.
Oh, and Jimmy Olson and Lucy Lane kiss, and the mountain disappears that the castle was sitting on.
Yeah, so everything kind of goes back to normal, I guess. But it's just, I don't know.
It's a movie.
Yeah, and at some point in the movie, you figure out that she hasn't ditched her home planet and does intend to go back and try to help it.
She never says it.
No, you have to figure it out yourself.
All that so she could enroll at the school for 3 days and go to class. Maybe 3 days, maybe not.
Yeah, and enjoy a hot shower.
Yes. Could have been hotter. Huh. All right, we ranking this thing?
Yeah, I guess we can either do 3D printers or magic yo-yos.
Yeah, magic yo-yos works for me.
All right. Does it get a magic yo-yo?
I give it 2 for that screwball Golden Girls into Halloween plot, which I think, boy, this movie could have worked as a TV series. You get all that stuff going on. Everything else is not worthy of a star.
No, the best villain is invisible. That tells you a lot. And has no speaking role either.
Yeah. Well,
I will get.
Oh man, those bully girls in the school, they're the real villains.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a score, but I'm gonna caveat it by saying I have not watched Superman 3 or 4 in so long. I can't rank and rate how I'd put those. So it's possible that I wouldn't want to compare the score for this movie to those.
Yeah.
I would give it 2 yo-yos if it wasn't 2 hours and 4 minutes. It was really hard to watch this movie.
Or even longer, depending on the cut.
Well, and then just knowing that there was a shorter version released in America, that if you watched it, the plot would make even less sense than it does now. They cut out important stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's so much nothingness in this movie. There's so much you could cut and not be impacted at all. You could cut out the entire bullying subplot.
Yep. Didn't need to be there. Really, how much did the school scene need to be there other than get her to meet Lucy Lane?
I don't know that Lucy Lane needs to be in the movie.
Oh, you're right. Well, then you couldn't have Jimmy Olson.
Well, no, I know why they did that. They wanted the continuity with the Superman movies.
Man.
But it was just it's such a badly edited movie with a bad script.
Nigel serves no role. Lucy serves no role. Jimmy serves no role.
Does Ethan serve a role other than just look stupid? Comic relief? Zoltar? All these characters. Ugh. I'm going to give it 1. 1 magic yo-yo.
Fair enough.
I'd give it 2 if it was an hour and a half. But yeah, 1 yo-yo. I hadn't seen this movie before now, and I didn't miss much.
Oh, by the way, I don't know how many versions it's in, but when Nigel is freed at the end and he's back in the small town, he hooks up with that blonde lady who Selena tortured in the previous scene. And she wants to know about the bones in frog legs. And he says, "Oh, my dear, it's a toad." And he puts his arm around her. He starts walking off with her, so he gets the girl, ironically.
I think I must have blocked out that scene.
Maybe it's only in the director's cut. All right. Huh.
I think that's what I watched, though. So I don't know.
What a weird movie.
No, it could have been. There was, if it had Dolly Parton in it.
Oh, man.
I think it could have been a Christopher Reeve mentor role. There was something that could have been done.
What role do you think Dolly Parton would have been best? The main villain or the villain's roommate or something else?
Oh, the main villain.
I mean,
Dolly's got charisma.
I like Selena okay, but I think maybe it's just her look with the big red hair. Maybe it's not so much anything she does as an actress or with the part. Because she herself is not terribly likable or charismatic, but it's just, she has a good look for that kind of role.
She almost looked a little bit too old for the role.
Golden Girls, man. That's...
Yeah, so, it works for this movie because the witch's lair is so absurd. But in a normal movie that was trying to take itself seriously...
Oh, you know what? If they had cast Dolly Parton for this movie, she probably would have written an original song for this film. And that would have been, in all history, Dolly Parton's Supergirl song. Can you imagine what it would have been? Stumble out of Argo, stumble in the ocean, pour myself a cup of devotion. Can I... turn and twist and try to put my Supergirl skirt on. Learning to fly, I gotta do some flips. Maybe I'll spend the night with Bugs Bunny, 'cause that's just the way we did it in Argo. From Argo to Earth. There you go. There's your from Argo to
There you
Earth.
go. That's the opening scene. What could have been, but it wasn't what was been. It's what was, and it was awkwardly bad. And that's been Supergirl. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. By the way, I do like the Supergirl costume. I guess I just got to throw that in there.
Oh, very Christopher Reeve-esque.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
They did a good job with it.